Let's just ask 5 real quick questions that everyone who is a teacher has got to answer, or everyone who's involved in a school board has got to answer, and then look at the nature of these questions and see if we can avoid being religious. First of all, in order to educate, you have to ask yourself, what is man? The teacher walks into the classroom and there are these humanoids sitting in these seats in front of him or her. What's he dealing with? What's she dealing with? What is man? Are these just the forward push of the chance blob of evolution? Are these just little white rats that act in some behavioristic way? Or are these people that are made in the image of God and that have dignity and are to be treated with respect, and who have minds that are able to be developed to glorify God and therefore to be skilled to work in His world? Don't you think it makes a difference whether you see man as a white rat or a child of God? That's going to make all the difference in the world in how you treat people in the classroom and how you educate them. How do you educate white rats? If man is nothing more than a white rat, then of course our educational techniques could descend to, and I'm using this as an absurd illustration, but why not? Why don't we just apply electrical stimuli, to condition and response these children so that they are going to do the things they should do as good little citizens? It all depends on what you think man is. Secondly, what is knowledge? If we're going to educate children, we have to know what knowledge is. Is knowledge thinking God's thoughts after Him? Learning everything we can in the context of knowing God and the world that He's created and where He's put us to love Him and to glorify Him? Well, if it isn't, what is knowledge? How do we know things? Don't you think a teacher should know what knowledge is before he or she tries to impart knowledge to the students? I mean, it only stands to reason. Yet how many teachers do you know in the public school system that could give you an adequate answer about what is it to know anything? If you don't know what it is to know things, you don't know what it is to learn things either. Thirdly, what is man's goal and purpose? If we're going to be educating people, imparting knowledge to them, we have to know what knowledge is, we have to know what man is, but we also have to know what man's purpose is. I mean, why do we have students? Are students here simply that they might become good citizens in the state? Is that the purpose of education? Is that the highest goal in life? Are students here so that they might serve the interest of whoever happens to be in control of society? Are they here to serve one another? Are they here to please themselves? Or are students here to learn to develop skills that glorify God? Now, we could go on, but you see, the way in which you educate is going to be different depending on which of those options you choose. Fourthly, why should we educate? Not just what is the purpose of education, that is, what are we trying to accomplish in the life of the student, but why should we be involved in the educational process at all? If you believe that man is nothing more but the process of evolution, I want to suggest to you, you lose a great deal of motivation for educating. What you're dealing with are just animals out there. Okay? And for you, education may be the training of the animals so that they get along well. I'm being harsh here, but you get my point. Why do you train the animals, if that's your view? There's another alternative. Rather than giving your life to helping the animals get along, why don't you just go somewhere where you don't have to live with the animals? Isn't that what we do here in Chicago? We don't live out there in the jungles. We don't want to deal with the animals, so we live here in Chicago instead. Yeah, some of you at the back can't see. The tongue is in the cheek here. Okay. Fifthly, how do you educate? What kind of discipline do you use? Do you educate with the idea that the parent has been extended into the classroom and is represented now by the teacher? The teacher is the extension of parental authority? Or do you educate with the idea that parents have nothing to do with this, and that's why they turn their children over to the state or to the school, whatever it may be? How do you educate? Do you discipline children when they have been disruptive in the classroom? Do you expel people? Do you think it's all right that Johnny puts razor blades in the children's apples and say, well, but he still has the right to an education and so on? How does all of this get integrated? What is man? What is knowledge? What is man's goal or purpose? Why do we educate? How do we educate? Questions like those are essential to engaging in education, and yet every one of those questions calls for a commitment to a particular philosophy of life, a particular worldview. Every one of those questions, the way in which they are answered, will betray what a person thinks about the nature of reality, how we know what we know, and how we should live our lives. And therefore, education cannot be value-free. It cannot be religion-free. Education cannot be neutral. Now, of course, if we paid attention to the Bible, we would have known this already, wouldn't we?